Hello, welcome to another special Sudoku solve video. Um, this time I think I might finish Digits of Despair. I was so scared that it wasn't. I got scared that it wasn't gonna load in, and I would have to do everything again. Um, yes. Okay. So, well, let's just work our way through the secret passage, and we'll look at the secrets after that. So this is just one very long thermo. Wait, maybe it's easier to highlight it with the pencil too? No? From the middle, yes. Okay. Now I think this is about halfway. So let's switch to green so I can disambiguate highs and lows. Okay. So what can be on a black dot? It can be 0, 0, but that's not the case, because if that's 0, then, well, if that is 0, then that has to be 1, and then that has to be higher. So 1, 2, is that possible? So 1, which red is low, so that will be 3, 4. Oh wait, no, red is the low one. So 1, 2. That doesn't work because there has to be at least, so 1, 2, 3, 4. So there have to be at least 2 digits in between. So does 2 work? If I say 2 and 4, right, then that will be 3. No, there have to be 2 digits in between. So what I'm saying is 3, 6 with 4 and 5. That does seem to work. That does seem to work. And then we just need to make the whisper work. But we also have 4 and 8, right? And then this can be 5 or 6, and this can be 6 or 7. So 4, 8, what's the problem with that? 4 basically says that the next digit has to be a 9. So then that would have to be a 9. Well, that couldn't be a 9 because that would say that this is lower than it. But if we say the next digit is a 9, because that, right, with the 4, the next digit on a whisper has to be 9, because 0, is 0 5 away? No, obviously not. Okay, no, I'm sorry, no. Yeah, no, I think that is a problem, because where are you going to put the 9? Because you have to go from 4 to 8, right? So you have to have high and then low again. Yeah, no, that doesn't work, because then both of those would have to be 9. That doesn't work. So that's now 4. So we know that that is a 3, right? Now that's a 6. But how do you make this whisper work? Because you need a high and another low, I think. That could be a 1. That couldn't be a 1 then. So how do you... Well, no, that doesn't have to be a 1. That can be a 0, and that can be a 1. Right, okay. And then the high digits, that can be an 8, and that can be a 9. And then the thermo works. Now we have 0, 1, 3, that can be 4, that can be 5. That can be 5, and that can be 4. And that's our throne room. Wow. Whoa, okay, that's a big puzzle. Does the secret passage even have text? Open the secret door to the center of the castle. Remember, cells outside the grid do not all need to be filled as long as the clues are correct. Which I think we have right now. Yes, I think we do. And then we are on to the throne room. You have found the hidden heart of the castle. Sudokuvania and its columns are laden with I don't know that word. Are laden with some kind of arcane device. Can you deconstruct it before it activates and destroys Sudokuvania forever? Deconstruction. Yes, so normal deconstruction rules, and the rest is just the rules that we know. So okay, let's start with the general principle of deconstruction, right? If we have this as our boxes, if we squish them all to the top left, we get this arrangement. If we squeeze them all to the top right, we get this arrangement. If we squeeze them all to the bottom left, right, we basically get this. But the thing is, this specific cell is always in, let's call it box number 1, right, the top left box. This one is always in the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, 9, right? Those are our core cells. And this box just moves around this cell in some way. So I'm going to color these boxes so that we can keep track of them. And I'm going to put circles on the book so I remember. That looks a bit weird. I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe I'll remove the circles. I'll just have to remember that there are books there. Let's make that yellow, orange, blue, purple, and then let's make you what? Green, yellow, and red again. Okay, so this is where we start, right? Let's think. Cells not in regions should remain empty. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm thinking. Okay. So I think an obvious place to start is this, because right. Okay. Yes. This box remove. I must say I've done this puzzle whenever SkepticalMario released it. I did most of it, but I didn't finish it because I had school and exams, and those take priority. And I'm just trying to remember and figure it out by looking at it. I think I can do it. It took me 3 hours to do what I did, which I think was most of it. But yeah, no. This yellow one revolves around this cell, right? But however you draw it, it'll always take 3 of these arrow cells. And there cannot be a 4th colored cell on the arrow, because then you have 4 cells adding up to a 1-digit number. So blue can never move down, because if it does, it forces 4 cells onto the arrow, so that doesn't work. Blue has a border here, which means that this is blue, that is green, that there's a border there. Now this cell, projects itself onto that cell. Those are the same digits, so if blue takes that, we have the same digit twice in a box, so that doesn't work. This has to be blue. And that's a full box already. Okay. That's our border, that's our border. So, if I'm debating where to look right now. Yes, I think what is relevant is that this black dot, right? What can ever one cell be taken of that black dot? Does that work according to the rules? Because I don't think it does. Because nothing times 2 is still nothing. So you can never take just one of those cells. So what color is this going to be? Because it has to have a value, because it isn't equal to nothing. Also, this is 6, 7, 8, or 9. Because it's 3 different digits, the minimum being 1, 2, and 3, so that's 6. This digit has to be something, because nothing is not equal to 6, 7, 8, or 9. So what color is it going to be? If it's red, right, we have the problem where we only use one cell on the black dot. So it is purple. That means that this is purple. But I think red can still be like this, and this just not be taken up. Yeah, I assume that must be the case. Okay, so maybe it's this arrow. Because either this purple takes this, right? And if purple does take this, then some color must take this. Oh, but it could still be yellow. Okay. Okay. But it could still be yellow. What I was going to say is purple could take this, right? But if it does, something still has to take this, otherwise these digits are the same. Or purple doesn't take this, right? And well, no, purple doesn't go up. If purple goes up, what's going to take that cell? Nothing. So that's purple. So we have another box. And something has to take that cell, but it could still be yellow, I think. Now, well, could red ever do this, right? And I don't think that's possible, because even if that is 1, you're basically saying that, because these will never reach another box again, right? I'm just asking, does this cell have to be red? That's what I'm thinking. Because if that's not the case, we have this, right? And how is this sum going to sum to that? It would have to be green. Right? Or it couldn't be red, like this, because then you're saying this is the sum of these two and this is nothing, so these would have to be the same digits, so that doesn't work. So then this would have to be green, and then those two digits have to sum to that, so those digits would have to be the same. So that's not true. This has to be red, and those have to be red. Just cannot do that. Now, that has to be a color, but it could be green. Because green could do this, and that would be fine. But this digit and this digit are always the same. That must be the case, yes. Okay. So, well, maybe this black dot works the same, right? Does this have to be red? No, but that could be orange. We don't have the same restriction there. Interesting. So this book says where does the 9 go, right? Because it's in the 9th column. Where is the 9? 9 couldn't be there. 9 couldn't be there. 9 could be there. And those 9 could be within this row. So that is 2. No, that's 3, 4, 5, or 6. Right. Yeah, but you don't know if there's 1 or 2 cells between those, so you don't even know. Well, it couldn't be 5, I guess. That's the 5th cell, so that's that one. Because it's on a whisper. Right. And that couldn't be a high digit. Oh, but this could be red, and that would be fine. Okay, no, I was gonna say this couldn't be 3 or 4 because that would put an 8 or a 9 there, and that doesn't work, but you can even do this, so there's a lot of stuff you can do, I think. Well, okay, so Thus, does this have to be green? If that's not the case, right, then green, if this isn't green, we're saying that green cannot take that cell either. So green has to be like this. And then yellow is going to have to take both of those. And that doesn't work. So that has to be green. It's the same principle as this cell, I think. Now, this cell has to be taken by something. It cannot be green, so it's yellow. So that's yellow. So those digits are the same as well. Now, this could be yellow or green. This could be yellow or green. But this cell... No, but that orange could take that, though, doesn't it? Yes. I feel like I should know more. Right, it's either both of those cells or it's one of them. Or it's neither. Either both of them or nothing. No, but I think the rule said black dots have to have a digit. I'm pretty sure. But I think there's going to have to be something either from a zipper aspect, because if there isn't, this digit... Oh, well, this will never be reached. Yellow could never reach this, so if red takes it, red would have to take this. Right, okay. So something is going to... Is it true to say that something will have to take this cell? Is it true to say that something will have to take this cell? If it doesn't, then you're saying that both of those are the same digit. And something could take that, so that doesn't count for this. Okay. No, I don't think that's the case. Something is going to have to take that. Could it ever be green? If it is green, right? If green moves like this, then we're either saying that those two are the same. Well, okay, something will have to take this cell. Because if it doesn't, then nothing plus nothing doesn't equal not nothing. So something will have to take that cell, and green is the only one that can. So like that. But at this point, you don't know if... You don't know anything about this. Because, well, something will have to take it, but it could be red, it could be green. Yes, I think both of those are fair enough. This is a monstrous puzzle. What? Okay, so there's one high digit on here because it's two cells of a whisper. So one of those is high. That is high. So we only have two more highs to put on the thermometer. So that cannot be 5. That has to be 1, 2, 3, or 4. If it's 5, you put 3 high digits on the thermometer and that breaks. This one is saying where the 6 goes. Yes, okay. This one is saying where does a 3 go. And another where does the 6 go. Okay. So what exactly is happening? I think it's more with the zippers. There's more going on than I'm thinking. If yellow takes all of this, right? I think that's not possible. I think that this is impossible, because then nothing will ever reach this digit. And then those two are the same. So that's not true. That doesn't work. Could yellow ever do this? Same problem. No, okay. So am I saying that yellow has to take this? I don't think I am. Well, this doesn't work. Because of the same reason, right? Nothing will ever reach... Oh no, but orange... Or this could be orange, this all could be yellow, and then this could be green. I think we're fine at that point. Yes. So something has to reach that cell, doesn't it? Because but yellow could reach that, and that... Then still something would have to reach that. And it's not yellow. Yellow doesn't take it. So something has to reach this. If nothing reaches this, right? If we say yellow is this. No, that's a problem. This would be a problem, yes. So something has to reach it, and it's not yellow, so it's orange. Right, because otherwise you get either this is nothing and this has to be something, or this is yellow and then this also has to be something. So that's just the case. Now I think we can do more with also this is then yellow. Does that say anything about how it moves? No. No, yellow could move any way it wants to. Right, but... No, green doesn't even have to take this. Right, if yellow takes this, then green doesn't even have to take that, because then those could just be the same. Right, okay. So what are we saying now about this zipper? One of those would have to be taken. This could never be taken by yellow. Oh, both of those would have to be taken by red, right? Because nothing except red can reach this. But if that is red, then that also has to be red, because otherwise you get a repeated number. And same way, that cannot be nothing. If that is nothing, then red... Right, if both of them are nothing, that's a problem. So one of them has to be something. But both of them can only be reached by red. So, and not just one of them can be red. They're either... So they both have to be red. So this is the case. That's a whole box in a second. Wow, okay. Now that cannot be reached by anything, so that has to be reached by anything, so that's yellow. And now we have a lot more stuff. Now this cannot be reached by yellow, so that's green. I hope... I think this is going correctly. I think so. Now we can say a lot more stuff about this, because either... You know, if that's 3 or 4, we're saying that this is yellow, basically, because we need a high digit in between. If that is 6, then that could be a 1. Yes, that does seem okay. Why? Okay, that does seem okay. If that is 6, that could be a 1. That could be a high digit. That would be a low digit. And it would be 3 or 4. Not 4, it would be 3. Oh, that would just reference itself, okay. So, if that is a 6, that would be low. That would be high. So that, and if that's a 3 or a 4, that would be high. That would be low. That would be high. That would be low. So these are the same parity, and these are opposite parity. Right, okay. These are opposite parity. What are we saying then? What does any of that mean? If this is low, then that has to be high, which is a thing for the skyscraper clue. That just couldn't be 9, I guess. It could be 8. I don't know. If that is... If that is a 6, we're saying that the 6th cell is a 9. So we're saying that that's a 9. And we're saying that that cannot be a 6 or a 9. That could be just a 3. They're opposite parity. Okay. 6. Right, there has to be something here. If this is... Well, that cannot be 4, right? If this is 4, then both of those would have to be 9, so that would be 1, 2, or 3. But that's always the case. If that's 6, then that's just a 1. Then those have to be just 2 random high digits. That does all seem fine to me. If that is 4, we have a 9 there, but it doesn't say anything about this. Well, if that's a 3, then that has to be a 9, right? Okay, no, I don't think that matters too much. If that's a 6, we say that that's a 1, that that's low. Oh, but no, okay, that couldn't be a 6. That couldn't be a 6 with 2 1s. That doesn't work. If that's a 6, that's a 1, then that's a high digit, and that's a low digit. If it's a low digit because it's on a book, it has to be 3 or 4. If this is low. It couldn't be 4 because that would place 2 9s. But I don't think 3 works, right? Because then you have 8, which basically says from the skyscraper clue perspective that has to be a 9. Because that digit also has to be seen, because you have to see all 3 of those. So what would you fill in there? And it's nothing. So that cannot be a low digit. This has to be a high digit. So that has to be a low digit. And that cannot be a high digit, so that has to be a high digit. So we know that this is yellow. We know that this is... oh, that's not what I meant. Like that, and this has to be low, so that's a 3 or 4. So that is one of those is 9. That's what we're saying. Okay. That cannot be a 1 because of the skyscraper clue. It has to be seen. So this is 1, 2, or 3. So this is... Wait, this is also 1, 2, 3, or 4, not 4. Since that cannot be a 1, that cannot be a 6. Since that's a 3 or 4, that has to be an 8 or 9. And we have this box as well. I realized that I don't even have a digit, and I'm half an hour on this puzzle. Okay. Let's see what... So this can be basically anything, right? Yes. There could be a 4 with 2 9s. Way this is constructed. But this is... Let's see. Oh, no, that can be a whole lot of stuff. Okay. This cannot be a 1 because that puts a 6 there. So one of those is a 6. Right, okay. That's a A lot of stuff now. 1, 2, 3, or 4. Oh, that's not the type of pencil mark I wanted to make. 1, 2, 3, or 4. Right, and this is also 6, 7, 8, or 9. It's this digit is mirrored. Right, so what now? That was a whole lot of progress in a few seconds, and now I'm lost again. It's just that one of those. If that's a 9, that's just a 3. Well, if one of those two is a 9, that's not a 9. So one of those is a 1. Because if it's the only way that that the 3-cell arrow doesn't contain a 9 is if the sum isn't a 9, it contains a 1, because you can make 9 with 2, 3, 4. But that doesn't do much, I don't think. Because what does that 1 do for me? Yeah, what does anything now do? Says one of those is 6. So we just know that that isn't a 6. This has to be higher than those. I don't know. I'm seeing where I'm supposed to be looking further. If that's a 3, that's an 8-9 pair, we know this. If that's a 2, that can still be a 7. Well, we know that that's not a 9. Well, it can be a 6, I guess. If that's a 7, that's a 2 and a 1. So if that's a 2, that cannot be a 1 anymore, so that doesn't work for the skyscraper clue. 8. 8 does work, I think. I don't know, 8 seems to work. 8 would put a 3 there. But that does work. That does seem fine. That does seem fine. Okay. Either one of those has to be taken. But yellow could even take both of them. Okay. This could be taken by red or by green. Well, red has to take those two, I guess. That's something. So what am I doing? What clue is important to focus on at this point? I'm not really seeing that. I don't know. I don't know. I'm seeing that these two digits are the same and these two digits are the same, but I don't think that is even relevant. I don't know. I'm just seeing if that's a 9, that's a 3, but what does that do for me? Is there a reason this couldn't be a 4? No. Nope. Okay. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know at this point. I'm a bit, I would say a bit stuck. I don't understand how from this you can reach something more significant, more, further on in the puzzle. Like, it's not even true to say that one of those has to be 4. That could be a 2-3 pair with a 1. So if one of those had to be 4, that would have to be a 9. But that doesn't make sense. Seven goes with a 2 and a 2. Does that break something? Makes that a 1. Which will make that a 6. No, wait. That's not true because that doesn't make that a 7. If that's a 7, and that's a 2, that's a 2. That could be still 6 or 7 or 8. But if both of these are 2, is that a problem? I don't think it is. I don't think it is. Is there something more simple? I always feel like there is something more simple than the things I'm thinking of in Skeptical Mario's puzzles. It's never as far-fetched as I'm searching for. That's what I've noticed, but I'm just unsure. Yeah, I can see that where does the 9 go in this column? It is only in those 4 cells, but I don't think that is relevant. So what now? I'm sorry. Okay, I'll take a quick second to look at it. Okay, it did take me a few minutes, a fair few minutes. I think about 7 or 8. But right, okay, so since this cannot be 9, there cannot be a 6 on this arrow. So where does 6 go in this box? It goes in one of those two. Right, because of this 6. So this 6 places a 6 up there. So if that's now a 6, that places a 6 there and that breaks. So that must be the 6. So that must be a 6. So we know that that's a 3. This 6 places a 6 there, places the 9 there, places the 3 there. Removes a 6 out of those two. Since this contains a 3, that cannot be a 7 because that's only 1, 2, 4. So this is now 1, 3, 4. So that's a 1, 4 pair. This 3 removes a 7 from that, so that's now an 8, 9 pair as well. If that's a 6, that would have to be a 3 and that breaks. So that's not a 6. And so we have made some progress. Let's see now. This is where I got, to be fair. That cannot be 2 because that would place a 6 there. Now this is a 7 or a 5. Sure. What digits am I missing here? It is 2, 5, and 7. That cannot be a 2 because that will be double 1, so that doesn't work. So that's a 5 or a 7. Right. I think that has some play with this, doesn't it? Those two digits have to be the same. Right, because this is nothing, so those have to be the same. So within this box, they have to fall in the middle here. And it cannot be a 6, because that's a 6. So this is 1, 2, 3, or 4. Now this is obviously not, obviously I'm saying, but this is not 1. Because we're saying that then that and that will have to equal 1. Which would mean that this would take that and that would both be 1. Now could that be a 2? I think it, oh no, it cannot, because that would place a 1 there and a 2 there. That doesn't work. So that's a 3 or a 4. Wow, that's a small number. That's a really small number. So we're saying that these two are the same, right? That's what we're saying. And that these two sum together to 3 or 4. So those are 1, 2, or 3. That's 1, 2, or 3. And that cannot be a 3 because that cannot be a 6. So this is 1, 2, or 4. Yes. So either it's 3 and then it's a 1, 2 pair, or it is 4 and it could be double 2, right? Could it be double 2? I think it could be double 2. I'm unsure about that now. Okay. I'm not ready to look at that yet. So I might have to though. So one of those is 8. That's something. Well, if that is 8, we know that this is yellow. Sure. Could that ever be 1? If that is 1, yeah, that could be a 2. Could it ever be a 3 if that's a 1? Yes. Okay, no, I think everything there is possible. So do we have more? Oh, that 8 places the 9, the 8. So in green, where does 8 go? Right, it doesn't go here. It doesn't go in one of those. So green has to take this. So red has to take this. So we have a bunch more to pencil mark. So, right, that's the case. So I said that then one of those would have to be 8. Sure, whatever. 9? Is that even restricted? No, I don't think so. Well, that cannot be 9, that cannot be 9, and that cannot be 9. But I don't think that is as relevant. This is either 2, 4, 1, 5, 2, 4, 1, 5. If it is 2, 4, it's very difficult. There's very a lot of things, going together. What I was seeing is that if this is 2, 4, Or if it's 1-5 for that case. It doesn't matter, but then if this is 5, then this has to be 2-3. But sure, right? It could still even be 7, and 2-3 does work. Well, okay, no, it couldn't be 1-6, and it couldn't be 1-4, so there's not a 1 on here. Right. What could the options even be? Normally on a dot we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 6 and 8, right? Well, we know that it isn't 6, we know that it isn't 8, we know now that it isn't 1. So that eliminates a lot of stuff. And if this is, you know, 2 or 4, then this is also from 1, 2, and 4. And then you have a 1, 2, 4 triple, which would make that a 5, which would make that a 1. But that does seem to work. Okay. So if this is 5, then this is not a 1-4 pair because that would break this. So then it would be 2 or 3. And if it's 7, you would have 5 or 3, 4. Yes. And then these 4s would align and this would be 2, 5. Wait, no. Then if this is 3, 4, then the 4s would align, and that would make this 1, 5. Yes, 1, 5. Okay. I don't know. I'm unsure. Well, if that's a 5, then that's a 5. And that will be 1, and that will be 5, right? So if that's 2, 3, that's a very specific scenario. Let's look at that. If that's 5, then that's a 5, so that's not a 5. But that could be 2, 3 in any order, I'm pretty sure. Because we're saying that that's a 1, but we also said that because of this, that's a 1. But that could be 3 with a 6, and then, you know, it's still that orientation, I'm pretty sure, but... No, because then that could also be 2, 4. Yes, okay. No, I'm confusing myself too much with the different options, I think. There has to be something a bit more simple, which I do want to discover first. If this isn't 5, right, then we have a 1, 2, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 quadruple. I don't think that matters. If anything is anything, what is it? Okay, so if this is a 2, 4 pair, we're saying that that's 2 or 3. We're saying that that's 3 or 5. So if this is a 2, 4 pair, that would have to be a 2. Because if it's a 3, it would have to go with a 2 or a 4. That's sorry, I'm sorry, wait. If that's a 2-4 pair, these 4s align, which knocks a 4 out of both of those. Let's just look at it, and I'll go back and scratch everything. 4 removes 4 from there. Now we're saying that that's either a 2 or 3. If that's a 3, that has to be a 2. Right, if that's a 3, that has to be a 2. Because it cannot be a 4 now. If that's a 2, that has to be a 3 or a 5. But if that's a 2, then that's a 1 or a 4, which aligns with that. And then we have 2, 4, so that breaks that. So that's not a 2, we know that. Then that's a 3, which cannot go, so that's then a 5. So that's then a 5, that's then a 5. We know that that's then a 4. And we know that this is the case. And this is when it's a, oh, that's a double 4. Why is that a double 4? I think I just removed the wrong number. Yes, I did. So that's that case. That's in the case where this is a 2-4 pair. That's very specific. Am I going to go on with that? No. In the case where this is a, I kind of want to save this and then want to do the 1-5 pair, but I think I'm going to go back and see what happens with right. And now if it's a 1-5 pair, because now the 1s align and I don't do anything. I do absolutely nothing. What? Sorry, what? I hope that was going to do something. That does nothing. Okay. How could that be the case? So it has to be something else. Something else. You know what, after that I'm going to look at something again. Okay, I think I found something to look at. So I wanted to do that on camera. I was thinking, right, what's the orientation of this whisper? Because, right, it's either large or it is small. And I think this zipper cannot be small, right? If we entertain this for a second. Oh, right. Also, we know that this... Wait. Let's do first things first. We know that this is the case, so this has to be taken. Because if yellow does this, then those digits would have to be the same. So yellow does at least this, right? So now is the question, could yellow take that? What's the orientation of this whisper? No, I don't think I can know the orientation of that whisper, can I? Four. Yes, okay. If this is 1, 2, or 3, or 4, if it cannot be 1 because 2 digits summed together isn't 1. Those could both be 1, and that could be a 1. So that could be a 2. That could be a 2. Could it? Could it? No. Okay. What I think... Because, right, if both of those are 1, and that's 2, and that's 2 or 3, well, that could be 2. 2, 2. With a 4. And that could be a 1. Oh, no, okay, but that breaks that 1. Okay, so that cannot be a 2. Can it be a 3, which will make that a 4, which will make that a 1 and a 2. That 1, 2 will make that a 4, so that would make that a 2. Which make that a 1, that a 2. Now that's a 2, that is a 4. So that would have to be a 2 again, and that's a problem. So that doesn't work. 3 doesn't work. And now 4. 4. I think. I think 4 could be okay. Okay, well, 4 is either 2 and 2, which I don't think works. If 2 and 2, no, that, because that's a 1 and that would have to be a 2. That doesn't work. So that cannot be a 2. So it has to be from 1, 3. So that has to be a 1. And that has to be a 3. Now if that's a 1, then this is 2 and 4, so that's a 3, so that has to be a 2. Oh, but then that has to be a 3. Does one of those have to be a 3? Wait. Is that the case? Because either that's a 3 and that's a 3, so then there's a 3, or that's a 4, right? But no, there could be 2, 1, and 2. But anyway, that couldn't be a 4. That could never be a 4 because of the scenario we just looked at. It couldn't be double 2 because of this. If it's 1 and 3, we have a problem because then that's 2, then that's 3, so that has to be a 1. And that has to be a 3. So that cannot be 4. So that is a high digit. 6, 7, 8, or 9. So this is a small digit, and that's a high digit. Well, we know that it's not 8. That could be a small digit, I guess. Or it could not even be anything at all. But now that we have this, the other thing I saw is, I think if that's a 3, we have, could that be a 9? Why couldn't it be? Why? If that's a 4, then both of those are 9. Is that a problem? Nine, and that would have to be a 9. I don't see why that is an issue. So I think that can be the case. So where does 2 go in this column? Up here? What can that be? Because this says where does the 6 go? Basically. But it could be in 1, 2, 4. Wait, 1, 2, 4, 5. Oh. Did I just, oh my. 5. 6 itself. So, oh, no. Oh, wow, okay. Stop that. I didn't know that was an option, and I didn't even have to know. 6, 7, 8, or 9. And now, which digits can it not be? It cannot be 1 or 4. Cannot be 8. Cannot be 5. Seven or 9. I think that's it narrowed down. That's a 6, that's a 1. And that's a 9. That does seem fine. Okay. And if that's a 7, we know that that's it. Okay. Well, we also know that one of those is 6, right? Because of these. So why can you not be a 4? I still have a feeling that this cannot be a 4, and I don't know why. Then this is a 1-2 pair. This is a 1-2 pair. If that's a 3, that has to be a 1, and that has to be a 4. If that's a 2, could be still a 2 and a 1. Okay. I think I'm gonna go look at it again. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for the pausing, but I think it is necessary. I think my somewhat assumption that this cannot be a 9 is correct, right? Because where does 9 go within this box? Right, it doesn't go here because of that 9. It doesn't go here because of the skyscraper clue. So we have these 3, right? These 3 as 9. Now if that is a 9, and that is a 9, and one of those is a 9. Now where does 9 go in orange? Nowhere. So that's not a 9. So one of those is a 9. So we know that that's not a 9. We know that that's not a 9. And it's not a 6 because that cannot be a 9. Now all of this, having said all of this, does this matter? Yes, that cannot be a 4 now. And now what I thought earlier, where's the 3 in this row, right? If that's a, I don't even know if I said this on camera or if I said this while thinking. If that is now a 3, I think we have a problem, right? If that's a 3, that's a 4. No, because that could be 2-2. And that could, oh no, that then is a 1-2 pair. Then we have 1-2-3, which will break that cell. So where does 3 go? It goes in one of those. It doesn't go there because of the thermo. One of those is a 3. Right, okay. So now in this row, where does the 3 go? It goes in one of those 2. So that's not a 3, that's a 1. And we know that that's not a 3. We know that this isn't a 2, it's not a 1, 2, or 3, it could be a 4, could be a 5, couldn't be 6, could be 7. Well, we know that that's a 7 now. I guess. Did I do absolutely nothing? Yes. Or, well, I'm probably just not seeing it, to be fair, but I'm sorry, man. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say. I was hoping to do the secrets as well, but that's not going to be the case. I'm just going to do this and cry about it probably for the rest of the day by how slow I've done this. That cannot not be an 8 anymore, because that cannot be an 8 with something. Now if that is double 2, then that is 1, 5, isn't it? Is that possible? Probably. I don't know. Well, we know that that's not a 1. Oh, I said not a 1. I do not understand what you want from me, puzzle. We know that this doesn't contain 2 or 6. So it's not 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 5, not 6, 7, or 9. It's 5, 7, or 9. We know that that's then not a 5. We know that that's then not a 9. So that's something. This is the numbers 1 through 6, but that could be a lot of stuff. That's not a 3. If this is an 8, it moves there. If this is a 7, could do either, okay. Is it pausing time again? Or I'm sorry, I was hoping to do this more fluently than I am, but then again, it's the final boss. It's supposed to be some monster. This is where you unlock everything. Every clue, every riddle. It all leads up to here, I think. Okay. Well, 9. No, I don't like that. Yes, I'm going to pause again and look. Okay. It was quite simple. One of those is a 1, that's a 1. So if that's a 1, you cannot place a 1 in this box anymore. So that's not a 1. So that's not a 5. And now the logic we did before by saying that if this is 2 or 4, then this is 1, 2, or 4. Then you create a 1, 2, 4 triple that breaks that. So that's a 3. We know that that's a 6. Right. And now we're saying that this is either 2 or 4. And that resolves barely anything. Okay. I'm disappointed. How do we... What? How do I go on from here? How do you move on? Well, life's questions, right? Right. If this is 2, 4, and one of those is 4. If this is 1, and that's a 1, and that's a 4. Go to... What do we know? I don't think anything. I generally don't know anything at this point. This is brutal. I don't know. I don't know what to say. That's a 2. That cannot be a 2 because of this. Wow, okay. It's that simple. I don't know if it does anything. Well, it does say that if that's a 3, that's a 1. If that's a 1, then that's a 2. And then that's a 3, so that's a 3. So one of those is now a 3. So one of those is a 3 because that couldn't be. Right, does that align with anything significant? I don't think so. Well, if that's a 3, and that's a 4, then that is a 3. If that's a 3, that's a 1, and that's a 3. So these do align, right? It's either one of those or 3 as well. Is that the case? Is that the case? Sorry. If that's a 3, that's a 4. But then one of those is 3. If that's a 3, that's not a 3, that's a 1. But it could neither be a 3. If that's a 4 and that's a 1, that doesn't work. So one of those is a 3, one of those is a 3. So that's a 3. So that's not a 3. But that's... Thank you, I guess. One of those is now a 9. So one of those is a 9. But that gives me very, very little to work with. If this is a 4, that is a 2. And we have a 2, 3, 4. So that will be a 1. Which will make that a 2. Does seem fine. Now if that's a 2, and that is a 4, then we still have the same 2, 3, 4. So now we're saying that that's a 2, so that's a 1. And then that also has to be a 1. That doesn't work. So that doesn't work. So that's not 2, that's not 4. If that is 2, then we have 2, 3, 4. So that's a 1. And that's a 2. But then that's a 4, that's fine. If that's a 1, that's a 5, and then it says nothing. But that's now a 1, 4 pair, so we have a 5 and a 2 left over. Which does make a 2, 5 pair. Right, okay. Interesting. Could you be not 4 for some reason? If you're 4, you're 4. 4 goes with 2. 4 and then 4. Oh, if that's 4, that is 2. And that is 4, and that breaks that cell. So that's not 4. We know that that's a 1, and that's a 5. And that's a 2, and that's a 5. And that's a 4, and that's a 1. Do you know though anything? Oh yes, we do. That's a 7, that's a 7, that's a 4. Makes that a 2. Makes that a 1. Makes that a 3. That's a small total. But kind of expected, right? That makes that a 3. Right, okay. 2, no, that does nothing. Those aren't 7 anymore. I feel like it's very easy to make a mistake in scanning within this puzzle. So I hope I haven't yet. That's not a 2, but that's a 1 or a 4, and it could be both. I think it could be both. So that's not that's like this, cleaning up a bit. Still anything. Is there anything else? 9? No, I have a lot of information, I think. But is it enough? This does not contain a 3. We know that if it's 8, it does this, right? So how do you make 8 twice? I think you could have 4, 4. And then even 7, 1. And then you'll be fine. Okay, no, that's nothing. I don't think so. If it takes this, right? What are we saying? We're saying that that's a 7 and that that's a 2. But still, that's okay. Okay. I am very scared that this video is going to be like 2.5 hours. I'm going to look at it. Was just normal Sudoku. That 7 makes that an 8. Cool. That's how they get you. Like that. And I also saw that 4 and 9. So that has to be an 8. That is a 4-9 pair. So this is a 1 and an 8. And that is a 2 and a 9. Right, okay. So now we get to the case. Oh, well, that's now not an 8, so that is an 8. So we're going to have to make 8 twice. Without using 1 and 3 on this side. I'm uncertain. We know that that's an 8. We know that one of these is an 8 then. We know that it isn't this one because it would break the skyscraper clue. It could be that one. That's fine. Actually, we know that that's the 8. So 9 is somewhere over here. 9 is either there or it is there. Okay. Still not totally done yet. I think that's most of the 8s. Except I am not able to disambiguate these without the 1. Okay, that makes sense. That does make sense in a chaos construction, deconstruction puzzle. 3s, it highlights those 3s as well. 3, 3, so one of those is a 3. Does align with these, but it doesn't do anything, I don't think. Now. Is it the skyscraper clue? I don't think it is. At least I am afraid it might be. One of those is a 6, but that doesn't, you know, what does that bring you? This is 2, 4, oh, no, not that pencil mark, it's this pencil mark. 2, 4, possibly 5, it couldn't be 6. It's not a lot of stuff. This couldn't be 4, so that's a 1 or a 2. It's also not a lot of options. This says, where does the 6 go? 6 could still be there. You know, the 9 is seen behind this. So that we know that, just know that that's not a 9, but it could be anything below 8. Why? 9? Oh, that's not a 9, that's not a 9, so one of those is a 9. Then we have a 2, 6, and 9. So that's not a 7. Because that's a 7. That is a 5. I'm going to make that pencil mark a bit prettier. 2, 6, 2, 6, 9. With not 2 or 6 or 9. Where that is not a 9. So these digits are 4, 5, and 7. Or that's not a 7. Or 5, so that's a 4. So we have a 9. A 4. A 2. Those aren't 4 anymore. So there are 5, 7 pairs, so that's a 2. That is a 5. Anything else? These are 4, 5, and 7. Where that's not a 5, I guess. Okay. I feel like I say like the okay a lot, but that's just what I'm thinking at the moment. 4, 5, 7. I'm just trying to take everything that is being put on the screen, right? I'm trying to take it in and process it so that I can explain what I'm thinking, or I don't know, even solve it, even solve what I'm being given, right? Because technically all the information is there. One of those is a 1, right? It is somewhat interesting to see, because in theory all that has been given at the start all implies this already. So if a being was infinitely logical, they would have already seen this by just seeing the start, which I don't know, that's crazy thoughts to me. I don't know, that people get close to that. There is people getting close to that, and that's incredible. Not me though, not me. You know, you try, but you'll never reach it if you don't try. 7 goes out. I don't want to pencil mark all the options for the 8 zipper, but I might have to. So what is it? It is everything up to 7. Not 1 or 3. This does not contain 4 or 5. This does not contain 5 or 7. Same goes for this, everything up to 7. Does not contain 1 or 3. This does not contain 7. This does not contain 5. Right, now if that's 2, that could be a 6. If that's a 6, that could be a 2. If that's a 7, that has to be a 1, and that's not possible. So that's not a 7. Now for this, if that's a 2, it has to be a 6. That's fine. If that's a 4, that's a 4. That's fine. If that's 2, 6, then this is always the 2, 6 pair. If that's a 2, that has to be a 6. Yes, okay, so that can just not be a 7. this 2 makes that a 6. And that a 2. So that's not a 6. That's not a 2. Right, does this 6 give me something? It says that one of those is 6. Which, sure. Oh, that cannot be a 1. So that cannot be a... I pencil marked that as a 9, didn't I? One of those is 6. It's not that one because that cannot be a 6, so that's a 9. And we know that that's now a 6, so we know that that's a 1. But I already resolved the 1 and the 8. Oh, because I pencil marked the 1s. Yes, okay. One of those is a 1 because there needs to be a 1 in the row. Two, so that's a 3. That's a 2. And that's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. That's a 4. Is there anything more I could say about 4s? No, I don't think so. Except that one of those is a 4. This 6 already obscures these digits. So these both need to be seen by this 3 clue. So that needs to be 7, because it cannot be 8 and it cannot be 9. So that's a 9 and that's a 2. Now can I say something about 2? Not even. Except that that's not a 2, I guess. And okay, when solving, I said, well, this cannot be a 2 because then there's no 2 in this row, and then I filled in a 2 there. I think this puzzle has just absorbed every thinking part of my brain, and also being done with school. I'm not trying to make excuse or anything. It's just I think it's funny. Well, that cannot be a 2, and then just fill in a 2 and go on with your day. No, but now I'm going to redo a part of the puzzle. 5s, so that's a 4-5 pair. So maybe this all seems a bit quick, but I think that's just part of it. That 6 makes that a 6, that a 9. Right, because I ended with a deadly pattern here, and you know, you cannot resolve such a thing because that's how a deadly pattern works. That 5 makes that a 5. That 7 makes that a 4 actually, so that's a 7. So now that's a 4. So we know that that's a 5 and that is a 4. Also, I think something, a deadly pattern is a pattern that's unresolvable. In this column you're missing a 1 and it can only be there. An unresolvable pattern, that 6 makes that a 2. Now that's a 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's the bottom boxes done. That's nothing yet. What am I missing here? It is a 7. So what? 5, no. What am I missing here? It is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 9, where that's not a 9, or a 6, so that's a 5. So those aren't 5s, so that's a 6 and a 9. Now that's not going to be resolved either, is it? I'll look at it again. Give me a second. Oh wow. Okay, it's very obvious. This 2 makes that a 6, and that a 9. That's how it's going to be resolved. I was so convinced that I made another mistake, and whoa. Okay. I was thinking, okay, if that's the case, I'm going to redo all of this, and I don't know, that scared me a bit, I will be honest. Because I just don't like it when there is so much going wrong in a puzzle, but it's part, I guess I somewhat know that it's part of it, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, but still it doesn't feel good, right? Whoa, congratulations. There is still a hidden puzzle there, which I know about. What does this say? Unlock skyscrapers. And there is stuff here. So the zipper line. I have to do the zipper line still. I have to still do that zipper line. And this puzzle. But however small that may be, there will be something below here. So I am going to... 11 instead of placing... Yeah, okay. We've unlocked all the rules and everything is gone. The arrow. 8. U with a black dot and a zipper. You know, I can do for fun. I can do, what is it? R. This is the case, right? R-I-A-B-S-E-D. No, yeah, that is the puzzle solved. I will take a bit of time and resolve these in one last video, and in that video I'll also give my full thoughts on the puzzle. I need to think about it some more, but that was beautiful. A great ending to such a massive thing. How cool. This looks so cool. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day. Bye bye.